Hey guys, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody. Glad you guys are along for another video. It's been a while. It's been roughly a week ever since Monday night, San Antonio and San Diego. Great game. But yeah, we got 5 previews. All the games are Saturday, all within an hour of each other. So I'm not going to waste any time here. I'm going to throw some timestamps over here. Kudos to Jay Washington watching the videos, putting timestamps on the recaps and stuff like that. You're doing the Lord's work. I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier, but hey, I'll get you here. You can still put them in the comments if you want. Anything to make it easier for anyone to access the team they root for, or if you want to watch the entire video, please watch the entire video. But if you just want to watch the team or your team's preview or whatever, go for it. So without further ado, let's get into it. Game 1, Northern Arizona, San Antonio. All right, so preview number 1. Northern Arizona traveling east to San Antonio for the Gunslingers home opener. 6:05, YouTube and Caffeine TV. 1-1 for Northern Arizona. They got their win last week against Tucson. And San Antonio with the heartbreaking loss against San Diego last Monday. You look at the stats up there. I've put them up there just as kind of a snapshot to say, hey, this is where the team is kind of going. Are they more passing, more running? Looking at some defensive stats, it's just kind of like your leading tacklers and stuff like that. So, no, I mean, there can be categories where other players have an argument, but that's just kind of the snapshot that I have right now. So, players to watch for Northern Arizona. I've got Joshua Jones. You look at his stats overall up above. Last week, he threw for 212 yards, 5 touchdowns. He didn't rush as often. He only had 1 rushing touchdown, but you look at his stats for overall throughout the season. I mean, he's played a game and a half. So if he can replicate what he did last week against Tucson, more power to him. Completely wrong. I'm not afraid to admit it. I thought Dylan Sterling Cole looked better when they played Arizona. Joshua Jones completely blew those expectations out of the water when they played Tucson. So here's to more of the same for him. Defensively, I've got Tremont Lofton. 6 tackles, 2.5 tackles for a loss, 1 sack, and 1 forced fumble. Should be 5.5 tackles. You'll see that on the defensive stats right there for Tremont Lofton on the defensive line. You kind of look at the other parts of the defense right now. Travion Banks, Shannon Reed both have 12 tackles. They're kind of getting after it. It was a back-and-forth battle against Tucson last week. They prevailed. Tucson, I believe, led there for a little bit, and like I said, it was just very back and forth. So here's hoping that Northern Arizona's defense can lock down San Antonio, because you're going to have a battle on offense when it comes to the Gunslingers, and we'll talk about them here in a second. As for Northern Arizona's offense, I think it's pretty balanced. I mean, they're running the ball pretty well, not to the liking I would like personally, but they're doing all right for themselves running the ball wise. You see the stats right there. RZ McCorker is really stepping up his game, 110 yards. That's almost half of what Joshua Jones has throwing the ball. 3 touchdowns. Jones has 5 passing. So he's the go-to guy. And that's not to diminish anything receiving-wise from Justin Manyweather or Elder or Maldonado or anyone along those lines. But RZ McCorker, take his special teams things to the side too. I mean, you can bring those in. That's a huge asset to have. But just receiving wise, he's the go-to guy. So, question here is, can San Antonio shut that down? Can they shut down that passing game and really try and make them rely on the run here? They didn't really do that against San Diego. We'll talk about San Antonio right now. Sam Castronova, he's also my offensive player to watch for them as well. 14 of 20, 139 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 15 rushes, 64 rushing yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns. On the player to watch thing, it's wrong. Read the stat up above. It should be 4 rushing touchdowns. He had 8 total touchdowns on the game last year. Jesus. Defensively, Tristan Vance with 8 tackles. He was kind of your linebacker, defensive back hybrid kind of guy. Not a lot of tackling from the defense. Callie Rashad with 62 receiving yards and a touchdown. I mean, Castronova is kind of throwing the ball all around. His passing stats are good for his first IFL game. Jesus Christ. Tripping over my words here. I'm not well practiced in this. Doing this a whole week later. God. No, but San Antonio did really well offensively. Way better than I expected them to, especially them going up against San Diego, who is a team that, hey, they don't run the ball that well or at all. So look for them to really kind of maybe go with a more balanced offense. They did have a pretty balanced offense, San Antonio did, against San Diego. They were able to run the ball well, able to throw the ball well. It's just, can that defense finally lock down and improve themselves? Can they shut down RZ McCorker? Can they really shut down Northern Arizona's offense? Or is this just going to be another back and forth battle? Which leads me to my defensive player to watch, RJ Roundtree, 2.5 tackles, 1 pass breakup. If he's the one, Tristan Vance, whoever's going to be the one covering RZ McCorker, you've got to shut him down. Simple as that. I just said that's the go-to guy. You got to shut him down. Now, Maldonado, Manyweather, all of them I've said before, they have to step up too if you're going to shut down one of those wide receivers. So, for San Antonio, it's stopping the pass. For Northern Arizona, it's, can we just have a balanced offense enough to score points? That defense for San Antonio is not promising, but it's only been one game. So we'll see what goes on here. You look down below, series history, they haven't played. So first meeting between the two. Betting lines, Wranglers are favored by 2.5, over under at 97.5. So Northern Arizona favored a little bit on the road. I think that might just be due to a little bit of continuity and only one game from San Antonio. So that being said, let's go check out the 25-man rosters, our best bets, and we will go on to preview number 2. Okay, 25-man rosters popping up. And like I said, I believe in the last previews from week 3, I'm already losing track of my weeks here. From week 3, these are your starting 21 from their previous game. So the 21 you see from Northern Arizona, that is their starting 21 from Tucson. San Antonio's 21, that's from San Diego. So I kind of have to play from behind here. I don't think we're getting a transactions page. I'm relying on the team websites to stay updated. Good luck. You see the reserve and practice squad players. And that's just players that didn't play that are on the team website rosters. I didn't see Gerard Ware on the roster. He's been replaced by number 9, Gene Coleman II. I didn't see Renard Bell on there either for Northern Arizona, and I think there was another one that I might be forgetting. However, they did pick up Lummy Young the 4th. He was with Massachusetts before the season started. He might have been a cut casualty, so they signed him over there. Other than that, I mean, there's not really much else to say. Those are your rosters. I'm not sure if those are going to be the same 21 starting or if they will work other players in. So there we go. All right, best bet. Northern Arizona money line. No other reason than I'm fading myself here. I'll be honest with you. I think San Antonio can win this game. They're at home. I believe the San Antonio Brahmas of the UFL won, so those fans are probably happy. Whatever crossover appeal there is between the two teams and the fan bases, Texas is rabid for football. San Antonio and the fans are rabid for football. They almost won against San Diego last week, and they just made a couple of mistakes they probably shouldn't have. But it's their first game. I like San Antonio in this spot. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I like San Antonio in this spot. But I know if I bet on San Antonio, they'll probably lose. Simple as that. If I bet on San Antonio, they're probably going to lose. So I'm going to fade myself. I'm going moneyline Northern Arizona. I do think Northern Arizona can win this game. I think they just need to make it down, dirty, and gritty to do it. They cannot get into a 61, 65 point battle. They've got to do like what they did against Tucson. They've got to run some clock. They've got to run the ball, really take some time down, do what they can, and really just kind of drag it through the mud if they have to, if they absolutely have to. I don't think they will, but if they have to, I think Northern Arizona can come out on top here. So That's my best bet. Let's go check out our next preview. All right, preview number 2, Bay Area at Jacksonville. It's time to talk about the home opener of the defending champs of the NAL, visiting team, IFL defending champs. We've been waiting for this game for 3 weeks. So, 6:05, YouTube and Caffeine TV, live from the ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, Jacksonville, Florida. 1-0 Bay Area Panthers, their win last week at home against Arizona. They raised their banner and took down the Rattlers. Jacksonville losing a close one last week at Vegas. They get to travel across country, just like Bay Area does, except this time they're home. So they get to open up. We'll see what happens. Let's take a look at the stats here. Just a quick snapshot, just like last time. Talk about players to watch. Daquan Neal, leading rusher, leading passer. Pierre Williams, 5 receptions. He didn't record a touchdown. Tavon Grant, 2.5 tackles. Half tackle for loss, half sack. I think that was the very last play of the game. And Antoine Kincaid, 10 tackles in that secondary. Players to watch for Bay Area. Daquan Neal, I want to see what he can do against Jacksonville's defense. 152 yards through the air, 80 yards on the ground, 5 total touchdowns combined. Defensively, Antoine Kincaid, really it's going to be that secondary. Can they shut down Jacksonville's offense? Jacksonville's offense has been very slow to start the season. We'll talk about it here in a sec, but it's going to come down to shutting down Cam Solomon, shutting down Tamarian Terry, shutting down Brian Smith, any of those wide receivers. You've got to be able to make this team one-dimensional because they're not running the ball that well. They did better against Vegas, but if you're talking about a balanced attack right now, it's kind of feast or famine for Jacksonville's passing game. I think Antoine Kincaid is going to be kind of that guy there, along with a couple of others. I know it's not pronounced Faucha. I forgot how it's pronounced, but Faucha, number 7 for Bay Area, stepping up. Tyrone Cromwell, I believe, was back there as well. Number 21, 24. I think Tyler Joseph was one of the guys. The names are escaping me right now. I should have the roster up, but that's my blunder here. Regardless, you got to shut down the wide receivers of Jacksonville. And speak of the Sharks, you look at the stats there. They've played one more game, so the stats look a little wonky, but 305 yards total for Connor Blunt, 50 yards rushing for Logan Wright, and 95 yards receiving for Brian Smith. So Connor Blunt throwing the ball pretty well. I mean, he's done pretty well for himself in his first 2 games here in the Indoor Football League. The offense is there. It's just the turnovers. It's just the mistakes, third downs, whatever you have it. Jacksonville has to get this offense under control. I think they can. I think they can. The home crowd, Jacksonville being at home, I think they can get this thing turned around here. Defensively, they've got some pretty good defenders right now. Ulrich Jones, or Ulrich Jones, correct me how to pronounce it. 3 tackles, 3 pass breakups. That's the big one. He's getting his hands up there and swatting down passes. He also has a blocked kick. Cole is your linebacker, 6.5 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss. He's doing pretty well for a linebacker role. Harrison Poole, 16.5 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, and 4 pass breakups. Stats are there. But is that good because he's making all those tackles, or is it because the defense is getting the ball thrown, or the defending offenses, you know what I'm trying to say here. They have to make the tackles because catches are being made and the offenses for the other team are scoring. So, players to watch here for Jacksonville. I've got Cameron Solomon. I believe I had him last week as well. 7 catches, 84 yards, and 3 touchdowns last week at Vegas. He popped off. Simple as that. I expect more of the same here. If you look at what he did last week compared to what Brian Smith has for the season, he's almost eclipsed it in just 1 game. So, look for him early and often. That's what I'm saying. When this offense can get stuff turned around, you just got to get rid of those mental errors, man. You've got to throw the ball and then catch teams off guard with the run, whether it's Blunt, whether it's Logan Wright, whoever you have in there, catch them off guard. And they did that. They were running the ball pretty early against Vegas, and it was working a little bit. You just can't make dumb penalties, can't turn the ball over. You just can't be making 60-yard field goal attempts. You got to get off the field on third downs. Defensively, Caleb Ham. It's not Harrison Poole, but Caleb Ham, 7.5 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, and 1 pass breakup last week against Vegas. He was the guy showing out last week. Now, it's not to say the rest of the secondary wasn't or the defense wasn't, but he's the guy I'm spotlighting. I'd think Harrison Poole, Jabari Gorman, the entire secondary here, they've got to shut down a passing game. Which, can they shut down a passing game when it's really a pretty balanced offense for what we've seen in just one game for Bay Area? That's going to be the tough task. And when I say like a balanced offense, it's something along the lines of like a Massachusetts. Can you get, just like I said in the Northern Arizona one, can you get, dirty, grimy, gritty, and eke out a low-scoring game? I think Jason Gibson has said that too. We've got to win games close. We got to win games low-scoring. So it's not going to be a 60-point game. It's not going to be 61-64. You're going to have to win these games 38-35, something along those lines. They have the ability to do it. Jacksonville has the ability to rebound. What better time than now? I believe they're on a bye week next week, and then they get to play Vegas again, and then I believe they play Arizona. This team can turn it around. If you can get the win here, carry that momentum into a bye, get revenge on Vegas, and then you get to play Arizona. If you can't do that, you might be in for a world of hurt, man. You might be in for a world of hurt, but it starts here. Don't look forward. Look at the game currently. This is what you have to take care of. Take care of Bay Area. And that's simple as that. Series history. They haven't played a game. Betting lines. Bay Area favored by 8.5. So over a touchdown favorite for Bay Area on the road. Over under 84.5. So they are expecting quite a few points in this game. That being said, let's go take a look at the 25-man rosters for this and go look at our best bets. All right, 25-man rosters popping up. Same thing. These are the players that started for their previous game. Bay Area's 21-man roster was against Arizona last week. Jacksonville's was against Vegas. So, players down below, don't know who's starting. Lawrence Edwards, I believe, played the first game against Massachusetts, and then they put William Eoff in there for Vegas. Same thing, Marquise McLean, I believe, started the first game with Cam Solomon out. They flip-flop places right there. I believe Jeremiah Payton also, he's one of the reserve guys down there, one of the non-starters. I think he didn't play in the first game as well, so a little bit of tinkering around there. We'll see what Bay Area does, but there's your 21-man, 25-man rosters, reserves, practice squads. Again, kind of at the mercy of team websites and what transactions you can find online. So there you go. Let's move on. All right, best bet, plus 8.5. I don't know. Maybe it's something about just like San Antonio this week, coming home, having that amazing crowd behind you, getting fired up. Maybe Gibson's ripping into them or something like that. Just, we're not going to stand for it. There's just something in the back of my mind that even if they don't win this game, if Jacksonville doesn't win this game, they're going to do enough to not lose by more than a touchdown, I guess. Every game's been close. Every game has been roughly a touchdown or less, give or take a few. I don't see this one being really any different, especially if you're going to have two teams that are going to try and run the ball. A very balanced attack from Bay Area. We'll see what Jacksonville can come up with. I know it seems like I'm being hard on Jacksonville, but I expect some good things from them, man. Think plus 8.5. Can they pull the upset? Can they? If not, they've got an 8.5 point buffer here, so you're pretty much being spotted 8.5 points to start the game. That's what we're doing. So I think Jacksonville, if they don't win the game, they can keep it close, but we'll see that in the predictions when we talk to Aaron later on. Let's carry on for preview number 3. Alrighty, preview number 3 popping up here. Tucson traveling to Duke City. Rio Rancho Event Center, Albuquerque, New Mexico. 7:05 kickoff on YouTube and Caffeine TV. Someone's going to get their first win of the season. Tucson last week lost a close game against Northern Arizona. Duke City last week losing at Frisco, which could have been maybe the upset of the early year. Someone's going to win this game. Someone's going to have a one in the win column is what I'm trying to say. Both teams look good. Duke City looks way, way better than what they did against San Diego. They're going to cause some ruckus here. Look at the stats. Again, just a little snapshot for you of what's gone on throughout the season for one game or two games so far. Malik Mitchell, he looks good. Another balanced run pass. I mean, you see it a lot in this league where the quarterback is the leading rusher as well. There's a lot of RPO options and stuff like that. So almost 100 yards on the ground, 100 plus yards through the air, 5 total touchdowns. He is my player to watch. It's not to take anything away from the rest of the offense. You see Mike Kerrigan there with almost 60 receiving yards. They did pretty well passing the ball, but Malik Mitchell is kind of the guy they go through. 9 for 17, 128 passing yards. Again, 98 rushing yards and 5 total touchdowns. It goes through him. Can he get the ball to Kerrigan? Can he get the ball, to keep wanting to say Ben Jones because he's not the guy. It's Mike Jones. Who? Mike Jones. Who? But I'm always going to get that confused. It's Mike Jones. Is Mike Jones going to run the ball a little bit more? We'll see. Is Kerrigan going to be the guy? Are they going to get it to Torrance Gibson a little bit more? How is this offense going to progress for the second game? Defensively for Tucson, like I said, it was a very back and forth game against Northern Arizona. We talked about them in the preview for them in San Antonio, but a lot of rookies on both sides of the ball. I can't remember how many players they've brought back or brought in from other places. I think it's like 6, something along those lines. I'm not going to go through all of it, but I think they brought back about 6 players from last year's roster or like Mike Kerrigan from Quad City. So, Utley, 3.5 tackles, 1.5 tackles for a loss. Not bad for your first game. Tavares Farrell, 3 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss. I expected a little bit more from him there, but when Northern Arizona was kind of just throwing the ball around and doing what they did, it's kind of hard when you're relying on the defensive backs more than the linebackers there. But Darius Hatch, 5.5 tackles, half a tackle for a loss, and 1 pass breakup. That's pretty good for your first game. He's my player to watch on defense as well. I look for him and the rest of that defensive secondary to kind of get after it. Duke City does not run the ball. They try, but they don't. I mean, we're seeing here kind of these Western Conference teams, Duke City, San Antonio. I guess they're not Western Conference, but Jacksonville hasn't really run the ball that well. But you're seeing some of these teams not really run the ball as well as some other teams. Can you shut down the passing game? It's as simple as that. Can Darius Hatch shut down Gorney Sloan or Greg Dent or whoever he's going to go up against, regardless of who's covering who? Can Tucson's defense shut down that passing game? And talk about Duke City here. Javen Kilgo, 270 yards after 2 games, 7 touchdowns, 5 picks. Not ideal, but he's getting the ball out. They were leading Frisco there for quite a bit in that game. Carr only has 22 rushing yards. He's your leading rusher with only 22. So I'm saying if Tucson can get after and put pressure on Duke City, it still might not be enough. Duke City can sling it, but can you put enough pressure to ruin those timing routes? Even if Duke City comes back, they've proven that Frisco was able to come back. San Diego was kind of able to come back and win. So it's going to be up to Tucson's defense to stop that offense of Duke City. Otherwise, I think Duke City can win this game. Greg Dent, 97 yards with 5 catches and a touchdown. I don't know why those stats are different. I think I might have had Gorney Sloan's stats on there, but 4 receptions, 86 yards, and 1 touchdown. I believe that's Gorney Sloan's stats. He is my player to watch instead of Greg Dent. Either one's fine, though. Either one. Like I said, you have to have those guys in tandem with each other. playing off of each other, doing whatever they can. They've got to be the guys that can really get the ball down the field if you're not going to have that much of a run game. I haven't really seen Kilgo take off and run. That's not to say that he can't, but with only 22 total or 22 positive yards rushing the ball, Duke City needs to run. Whether it's Kilgo, whether it's Carr, whether it's Quarterman Sloan, whoever it is, they got to get the ball on the ground. They have to prove that they can be a balanced offense. Now, again, it's just my personal preference. If people want to be an air raid offense or just a run-first offense or whatever, that's fine. But I think being more balanced on offense, especially in this league, proving that, hey, we can keep the secondary on their toes, we can keep the linebacker from blitzing, or if he has to drop into coverage, then we can just run the ball and vice versa. I think being a very balanced offense works wonders in this league. Can they do that? I'm not sure. It might not even be anything they want to consider. Defensively, they've done pretty well defensively. Tamar Hart, 5.5 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, 1 sack, and 2 quarterback hits. I think he's also returned a 2-point conversion. Or a extra point for a 2-point conversion. Jason Serta, 13.5 tackles. Aaron Jackson, 15 tackles, 1 pass breakup. And my player to watch, Trey Claiborne. I don't know if it's going to be Aaron Jackson, Claiborne, whoever in the secondary lining up. I think they signed Jadarius Byrd for the last game against Frisco. Whoever's lining up against Kerrigan, whoever's lining up against Torrance Gibson, that might still not be enough if you got the running legs of Malik Mitchell. That's where Serta's going to have to come in. That's where the rest of the defense is going to come in. You're going to have to get pressure on Malik Mitchell. You're going to have to make sure that he can throw the ball and really, limit his legs and his usage and really keep him back there in the pocket to throw the ball. As for the series history, 6-2, Tucson leads this series. Last meeting, week 17 at Duke City, it was a 59-51 win. So Tucson, they kind of own the series. Again, you say that, but it's hard to go with it every year when it's new rosters, new players, new coaches, whatever the case could be. But right now, Tucson kind of owns the series. We'll see what this game has in store. I believe they meet 1 or 2 more times later on in the season, if I'm not mistaken. But as of right now, 6-2. Betting lines, 4.5 favorites for Tucson, over under of 85.5. That being said, let's go check out the rosters just like the others, look at our bets, and we'll continue on. All right, 25-man rosters popping up here. That's Tucson starters from their first game. So we'll see how they do in game number 2 here. This is the starters for the second game against Frisco that Duke City rolled out. The only difference, and I put it in here, I saw on their social page that they had Jeremy Hickbottom, which is the former Tucson quarterback that Tucson had signed before the season. Apparently he didn't make the cuts. And said he was one of the reserves. But I saw quarterback 2, which was what Taz Wilson was wearing on the sidelines and when he came in the first game. So I don't know if it was Wilson or Hickbottom that was in that reserve quarterback spot in Frisco. So I went with Hickbottom. It could be Taz Wilson. It bothers the hell out of me because I like to be accurate, but most people don't care. But there's your 25-man rosters with your reserves and everything like that. We'll see if anyone else gets in. I don't know where Laughinghouse and Pruitt are, if they're injured. They got cut. Not sure. The reserve guys for Tucson, they're still on the roster. I don't know if we'll see any of those guys get in this game, but there you have it. All right, best bet, Tucson money line. And it's just for the sheer fact that I liked what their defense did against Northern Arizona. It didn't go their way. I liked the balanced offensive attack with Malik Mitchell, with what Mike Jones was showing, Kerrigan, Torrance Gibson, Xavier Mason, I believe was his name. I liked what that offense was able to do. If the defense can shut down Duke City, then especially their passing game, it's going to be tough for Duke City to overcome that. Now, that doesn't make a lick of a difference when you look at a team like Duke City who still is able to throw the ball, or like a team like San Diego who just doesn't bother to run the ball. I mean, it can work. San Antonio's kind of made it work. Jacksonville's kind of made it work. I mean, teams that just exclusively kind of throw the ball here, that it works for them. Like I said, it's what their strategy is, which just makes it, you have to shut it down. Some teams can, some teams can't. I think Tucson is one of those teams that can. Look for them to kind of stifle Duke City. That's pretty much where I'm at. But Tucson money line. Let's go check out preview number 4. All right, preview number 4. 7:05 kickoff. YouTube and Caffeine TV. Vibrant Arena at the Mark in Moline, Illinois. Green Bay Blizzard 1-1 on the season, traveling to the Quad City Steamwheelers, who are 1-0 themselves. Max Myler continues to just be that guy. 227 passing yards and 76 rushing yards. Again, as I've said in the previous previews, which go look at all of them, most of the time your quarterback is your leading rusher. This one's no different. 8 total touchdowns on the season. He's been that guy. He has been the offense for him. That's not to take away Burgess or Cagle or anyone else rushing the ball or any of the wide receivers, but it goes through Myler. He gets the ball every single snap. He's the guy. Patron, 98 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, 7 receptions. He is my player to watch. When you look at his stat line in the last game against Iowa, 3 catches, 46 yards, and a touchdown. That's pretty damn close to half of what his stat line or season stat line is. So if he just keeps kind of doing that, he's going to have a pretty good season, At least a touchdown a game. He's going to get 16 or 17, touchdowns. Defensively, Mustin, 6.5 tackles, 1.5 tackles for a loss, half a sack and 1 forced fumble. You see down there, he's my player to watch defensively. They really shut down Iowa. I mean, they did. They held them to 25 points or something like that. Then Green Bay has the only game that's 11 points or more as a margin of victory here, which, damn. Mustin was all over, man. He was. I know Iowa runs the ball a little bit more than other teams, but it just seemed like Mustin was either in the backfield or just already tackling someone as soon as the handoff was made or a pass was made or something. He was there. He was always around that damn ball. It's no different than, linebacker Otero, Centel Williams. You see those stat lines there for them as well. This defense is good. There's a reason why Green Bay was the 3rd best defense overall last season. They are just kind of picking up right where they left off. They looked pretty good for 2.5 quarters against Massachusetts. They looked really good against Iowa. I think this defense is starting to come into form right now. We'll see if it holds up throughout the rest of the season. Quad City side, Judd Erickson, huge surprise to me. 169 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Not bad for your first game in the league, man. Vander, 34 rushing yards. They didn't rush the ball too much. Harrington, he was leading yardage guy, 65 yards, 2 touchdowns on 2 catches. They were just kind of throwing the ball a little bit. You look down at players to watch offensively, 13 of 26 for Erickson. He's my player to watch. 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, both to Harrington. 7 rushes, 13 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. So, not bad. But the question I have here for Quad City is, did they win that game because of Sioux Falls' miscues? Sioux Falls had so many low snaps and everything along those lines. That's my question here. And again, I'm wearing Barnstormer gear. I root for the Quad City Steamwheelers as well. I don't know if that win was because of Sioux Falls' miscues or were they that good. I think this is going to be a good litmus test against Green Bay's defense. If Erickson puts up those stats again against a defense like Quad City or a defense like Green Bay, it could be a really, really fun matchup here. Defensively for Quad City, not bad for the stats. I mean, Swan had half a tackle for a loss, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery. Jackson had a pass breakup. Player that I've got to watch, Malik Duncan, 3.5 tackles, half a tackle for a loss, and a pass breakup. So he was doing pretty well. Darian Jackson, 6 tackles. You see that stat line right there. We'll talk about the 25-man roster here in a sec, but we'll see if Connigan is the starting linebacker for this week. As always, can the defenders here for Quad City shut down the passing game? And if you do, Now you have to deal with a rushing game. Green Bay, very balanced. I like this offense. I like this defense. Green Bay is pretty good. They just have to, dare I say, get better. I don't know in what parts or what, the 3 phases, whatever phases, but I think Green Bay's good. I think not championship caliber yet, but they look the part right now. And even if you shut down Green Bay's passing game, you've got to look for Max Miller's legs. He will run the ball on you. They are going to hand it off to Burgess. Cagle will come in as a spell. Green Bay looks good offensively. Their defense can shut you down as well. I want to see if Quad City can handle Green Bay's offense. I want to see if Quad City's offense can break through Green Bay's defense. It's obviously, it's very boilerplate stuff, but it comes with that. Judd Erickson, his second start against a veteran quarterback in Myler who played half the season. That's veteran status for me, man. You're dealing with a defense that has got a lot of confidence right now. Can you get through to that? Can you break down Green Bay's defense? On the other side, you've got a pretty veteran defense with Duncan, Darian Jackson, and Jalen Swan going up against a pretty good offense. Can you shut them down? It all comes down to that. I know, people are probably watching this go, well, he just says, can one team stop the other? That's what it comes down to most of the time. That turnovers, penalties, if you're not making dumb mistakes like kicking the ball out of the back of the end zone and giving them at the 25-yard line, I mean, things like that. It's all kind of, can you get stops? Can you stop them on third down? Can you stop them on fourth down? That'll be a key thing. I'm really curious to see how this game goes along. I am really curious to see how these two offenses and defenses either complement each other, because it could be a very knockdown, drag-out fight, or it could be very high scoring if these offenses get going. Simple as that. You look at the series history here, 4-4. It's tied. Quad City, Week 17, at Quad City, 47-39. That's the last win. They're favored by almost a touchdown. Steamwheelers are. An over-under of 85. So, there's your preview. Let's go check out the 25-man roster and our bets, and we've got one more to go after that. All right, 25-man roster popping up here, and just like with the other previews, as always, it's just based on the last game. So Green Bay's was against Iowa, Quad Cities was against Sioux Falls. I've got Bryson Donnell crossed out here because I didn't see his name on Quad Cities roster. I'm recording this on a Friday night. I did these on Thursday afternoon. I didn't see him on there. He could be back on there. Don't know if he's cut. Don't know if he's injured. Not entirely sure. What I do see, however, when I looked at the roster was a linebacker, DJ Morgan. He was part of San Diego's roster, I believe, last season. He was signed by San Diego. Clearly he didn't make the cuts there as they've gone with Sherrod Williams. So he's over here, I believe. And yeah, we'll see if he gets the start instead of Connigan, or if they've got him as kind of just a veteran presence to help him out. We'll see also what goes on with that defensive line position, and we'll see what else goes on with any other kind of tinkering with the rosters as it goes along. So there's your starters, not set in stone, but we move on. Best bet under 85.5. You're asking both these teams to score roughly 40 points, and even that it was 42 points each, something like that. It's still not even 85. I just don't really see it. Both these teams like to. I just think this is kind of another Big Ten style game. I don't think it gets to 85. You could see something where it's like 40-34, something like that, and still only 70 plus. So I've got it under. I just think that total is just a little too high for these two teams. Could they prove me wrong? Sure, but I think Green Bay's defense can kind of help out in that regard. Quad City's defense can obviously help out in that regard. And I think Quad City having another game under their belt, still trying to find that chemistry. Both these teams coming off a bye. We'll see where we're at. But that's it, under 85.5. We got one more preview to go, and we'll go talk to Aaron, and we will get out of here. All right, final preview of the night, 7:05 kickoff. YouTube, and Caffeine TV. BOK Center, Tulsa, Oklahoma. The Iowa Barnstormers 0-1 travel to Tulsa to take on the Oilers, who are 0-1. Just like Tucson and Duke City, someone's going to have a 1 in the win column after this game. Snapshots of the offense and defense here. Quarterbacks reign supreme. Iowa quarterbacks reign supreme. Daniel Smith played for Iowa last year for a little bit. Darius James Peterson is back after his injury. He looked pretty good. I mean, 86 passing yards, 73 rushing yards. He was there for the game against Green Bay, but just didn't really go that way, and they just couldn't get out of their own way, it seemed, at times. And I think they went for it on fourth down a little bit. I don't know if they can get off the field on third downs a lot, but the offense looked good. Not bad for your first game. Still a learning curve there with some of the rookies and stuff along those lines. But Kean Williams, 2 catches, 31 yards, 0 touchdowns. So offensively, my player to watch down below, Robert Washington, he took me by surprise. 61 rushing yards, 21 receiving yards. He was there, man. The same amount of carries as Darius James Peterson, just 12 less yards. They're running the ball. They're running the ball. To try and set up the pass, they are putting the ball on the ground. Look for more of it. I'll be brutally honest with you. Look for more of it, which could play right into Tulsa's hands. Defensively, Jefferson Fritz with 9.5 tackles. They've only played 1 game, so what you see is what you get right here. Caleb Brewer, not bad for your rookie game. 4.5 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss. Look to step up a little bit more. We'll talk about Tulsa here. Daniel Smith, 113 passing yards, 25 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. I don't know if he's starting. I thought Juwan Pass was going to start last week. Talked to a Tulsa coach on Facebook. He said Juwan Pass needs to learn the offense a little bit, so I don't know if Daniel Smith is getting the start again this week as kind of a, hey, still need to learn the offense versus, well, we've had a bye week, so he's got more time to develop. We'll see. I'm going into this as if Smith is starting here. If Juwan Pass does start, then I guess just take everything I say here and just throw it out the window. But Joshua Crockett, 5 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown. He's my player to watch. That's, half the yards Daniel Smith had passing. Alexis Rosario was doing really well. Jonathan Nance, Montero DuBose. I mean, they were kind of throwing the ball around a little bit there. Defensively, Noah Lyles, very, very good. 4 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks, and a quarterback hit. Jordan Jones picking up right where he left off last year with 6 tackles. And Trey Harvey playing a defensive back role, 6.5 tackles, 1 pass breakup. Noah Lyles, he's my player to watch. You see his stats right there. You're going to have to get after the rushing game. Get off your block and get to the running back. Get off your block, get to the quarterback. They're going to try and do, pitch plays or try and do some, RPOs and stuff like that. Your goal is to not bite on it. Your goal is to get the man with the ball. Kind of proved that last game against Frisco. I almost said last week. That was a few weeks ago. He did that against Frisco pretty well. Look for a little bit more of the same here. I don't know if they shut down the passing game if Iowa goes full pass, but that's pretty much where we're at with it. I think Tulsa's defense, they're going to try to look to shut down the run here and force Darius James Peterson to throw it. In that regard, you need those wide receivers from Iowa to really step up their game. Not a good showing in the first game, but when you look at Iowa's running game here, if they can really just put Tulsa on their heels and start, gouging them for 4 or 5 yards a rush, 6 yards a rush or something like that, and really make them start to blitz or really make them start to come down like, hey, now we can get these pop passes over, they can really open up that passing game for them. So it's going to be a fun battle to see how these teams play against each other when it comes to that. Tulsa was able to put up a fight against Frisco. It didn't work out in the end in overtime. They were leading Frisco for quite a bit of that game too. Iowa kind of had a back and forth before they ran out of gas. Can they finish strong? Because like I said, they kind of ran out of gas against Green Bay there at the end. We'll really want to see how this game kind of evolves itself. If it starts out slow, Does it speed up, or do we just kind of go through another slog fest? Series history, 1-1. So each team won last year. Iowa won the last battle, week 13 at Tulsa. They're at Tulsa again. Tulsa's favored by a touchdown. Not a lot of confidence in Iowa, which, damn. Over 77.5 for the total amount of points. So let's go look at the 25-man rosters, our best bet, and we will go talk to Aaron and close this out. All right, 25-man rosters popping up here, and as always, it's just from the previous game that they've played. Iowa's was against Green Bay, Tulsa's was against Frisco. Players are crossed out. Adrian Hernandez, he was traded to Frisco, and I did not see Victor Hampton on Iowa's roster. Don't know if that means he's injured. I don't know if that means that he's cut. We'll see what happens. Someone's probably going to slot in there. Probably Mark Carter is kind of your fourth defensive back, or fifth defensive back is kind of your reserve guy. So we'll see what goes on from there. But that's what we see. Like I said in the preview, does Jawan Pass start? Daniel Smith get his second start? You've got some other guys down there. Does Travion Bryant, slot in there? Ryan McIntyre. They've signed a couple of other guys. I think they traded, I don't know how to say his name, Jacob Unguri. I don't know. He was traded from Tucson. Does he get in as an offensive lineman? I think what Tulsa has right now is pretty good. That's just kind of it. That's where we're at. So those are your 25-man rosters. Curious to see how, like I've said in the other ones, how the tinkering goes, who gets the starts, who's the reserves, and we just move on from there. All right, best bet for Iowa and Tulsa, over 77.5. It's a lot of points. You're asking both these teams to score, 40-plus points? I know, but if the defenses don't show up, which Tulsa's got a good defense, Iowa's got a decent defense, I still think both these offenses can ball out. I do. I think Tulsa can probably put up quite a few points. Iowa, if they get going, they can put up some points. I'm a little torn on it because I think that threshold is pretty good. Vegas has a pretty good over-under on this one. I lean over. I'm not shocked if the under hits, I'll be brutally honest with you, but I just don't trust the spreads. I don't see Iowa as a 7-point favorite, but I could also see them winning by 14. I could. I'm just going over-under here. So over 77.5. Let's hope for some points. Alrighty, welcome back to Aaron's IFL Corner. Y'all remember Aaron. You can check out his stuff on the UFL News Hub. We're going to try and speed round this a little bit. It's been a long preview. Again, we'll have timestamps and stuff like that for this as well if you want to check out predictions and things along those lines. Without further ado, let's dive into each game. We'll try and get on out of here as fast as we can. So, got our trusty papers here, and let's start out with Northern Arizona and Tucson, or Northern Arizona and San Antonio. I was looking at the other freaking sheets. All right, so Northern Arizona comes into San Antonio with a wave of momentum, getting their first win against Tucson, and they've got a solid offense and defense led by Josh Jones, and the defense has been able to get stops pretty consistently. San Antonio's downfall being their defense last week. Can they use home field advantage to get their first indoor football league win? Aaron says yes. Prediction, 50-47. Upset alert here for the Wranglers. San Antonio gets their first win. I'm not buying it. I said money line for my best bet, and I mean it. 48-43. I think Wranglers win. Second game. We got Jacksonville and Bay Area. So, Bay Area, the defending IFL champ. In their first game against the Rattlers, they showed championship quality. Against the Rattlers, Daquan Neal was nearly unstoppable, which, yeah, most quarterbacks have been. Defensively, Panthers will put pressure on Connor Blunt and should be able to force the Sharks into making a few mistakes. Goal is to limit that. I've said that. Sharks face a nightmare schedule in their first 3 games. Again, I kind of said that in the preview as well. They opened the season on the road in Mass, faced an impressive Vegas team, which, all intents and purposes, we didn't really know what Vegas was going to be. For the Sharks have a chance to upset Bay Area, their defense needs to play its best game of the season and get stops against the Panthers' explosive offense. I think Jacksonville's defense is just fine. I think the offense needs to score points. So I'll kind of disagree with Aaron on that one. He's got his prediction at Bay Area 52, Jacksonville 45. Upset 40-38. Jacksonville. Home field advantage, man. If you're going to use home field advantage for San Antonio, Aaron, I'm going to use home field advantage for Jacksonville here. I think they get the win. They're in a must-win situation for me. I have Jacksonville in a must-win situation. They've got to win. They cannot go 0-3 into their bye week. Let's move on here. Tucson and Duke City. Tucson boasts an impressive running game led by Malik Mitchell. He's shown his ability to get the ball to his best wide receivers and balance their offense. Last week, Tucson came up short against Northern Arizona. If it can match last week's effort, they should get their first win of the season. Agreed. The start of 2024 has not been well for the Gladiators. They compete against the best teams, which I guess I could put I think I could put San Diego up there as one of the best teams, but San Diego did not look good against Duke City. Against Frisco, though, Duke City looked really good. Okay. Back to Aaron, excuse me. Gladiators and quarterback Javen Kilgo will be able to score points. Defensively, they need to get stops. But they have come up short 2 weeks in a row. This week, they will need to stop an effective running game of the Sugar Skulls if they want to get their first win of the season. I think it's more of a balanced attack. I do think they need to stop Malik Mitchell's legs. I think I said that in the preview as well. I just think it's going to be up to Tucson to stop the passing game. That being said, he's got the score of Tucson and Duke City, 47-45. It's a close game. I don't have it. Well, I do have it close. I just have it lower scoring. I've got a 39-36. I think these teams will kind of shut each other down, and it's just going to be another knockdown, drag-out fight. So let's move on here. Green Bay and Quad City. Green Bay should be confident and rested after picking up a win against Iowa. For the Blizzard to have a chance to pick up a road win, Max Myler needs to find ways to make plays for 4 quarters. Myler sometimes needed help to get the ball into the end zone in short field goal line situations. Defensively, the Blizzard need to force a few turnovers to give themselves a chance to pick up the win. I think the defense is fine. I mean, even turnovers abound, whatever the case could be. I think the defense will be just fine. Like Green Bay, the Steamwheelers should feel confident and healthy after their win. Steamwheelers' offense, led by Erickson, started slowly, but they scored enough points to win in overtime. Home field advantage can significantly impact the performance. Steamwheelers can play sound football. They should have enough firepower to get their second win. I agree. He's got the game at 45-42. Aaron, you love the number 45, man. Quad City wins. I have it just as much, just as close, 42-38. I think home field advantage does play a little bit into it. I think Quad City makes just enough plays. I do. I think they do just enough to win the game, just like they did against Sioux Falls. Finally, let's talk about Iowa and Tulsa. Iowa, led by Darius James Peterson, can move the ball consistently on offense. However, they struggle to consistently get the ball into the end zone. Defensively, Iowa can pressure the opposing quarterbacks and get a few stops. This week, they have to stop the Oilers' running game and put up points against one of the best defensive units in the Indoor Football League. Tulsa comes up just short of their first win against Frisco. Clock management at the end of the game burned the Oilers. Forgot about that, man. Yeah, they didn't have a timeout at the end of the game, allowing the fighters to force overtime and eventually get the win. Oilers have one of the best defenses in the IFL and have shown ability to run the ball effectively. This week, they have a chance to breakout game on offense in front of their fan base. I agree with that. I completely forgot about the mismanaged time to send it to overtime. Yeah, Tulsa should have won that game. That being said, though, I think it falls on, can Iowa's offense deal with that defense, which is what Aaron said. I think I said that in my part too. So Aaron has it, 45-37. Again, 45 points, man. But I also have 45 points. I got Tulsa winning 45-38, so we have roughly the same score there. That's where we're at, though. Those are our predictions. That's been the previews of all 5 teams. Again, I'll have timestamps at the I guess I'll put timestamps here as well, but I'll have timestamps at the beginning of the video. If you guys just want to watch your team or your team's preview or something like that, fine. Doesn't bother me any. Go watch all of them, though. It'd be pretty cool if you did. But regardless, there you go. There's our previews. Those are our predictions. As always, like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. We'll be back here to recap all of this week's action and everything. Until then, guys, see ya.